It was a warm summer day in Great Falls, Montana, in 1988. 9-year-old Dolana Clark was playing outside, happy and carefree. But in an instant, everything changed. Dolana vanished without a trace. The town of Great Falls was stunned. How could a child disappear in broad daylight? Parents held their children closer. Neighbors looked at each other with suspicion. The quiet, safe community was shaken to its core. Police sirens wailed through the streets. Search parties combed every inch of the area. But Dolana was nowhere to be found. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. Still, there was no sign of Dolana. Her parents, John and Mary Clark, were devastated. They couldn't eat or sleep. Every phone call, every knock at the door made their hearts race, only to have their hopes dashed. The case of Dolana Clark became a dark cloud over Great Falls. It was a reminder that even in the safest places, terrible things can happen. Children were no longer allowed to play alone outside. Doors were locked and windows were barred. The innocence of the town was lost, and at the center of it all was a family torn apart by grief and uncertainty. The pain of not knowing was unbearable. As time passed, the initial shock of Dolana's disappearance faded, but the search never stopped. Detective Mike Johnson refused to give up. He worked on the case day and night. Every lead, no matter how small, was followed. Every tip was investigated. Johnson's dedication was unwavering. He promised the Clarks he would find their daughter. The community rallied around the Clark family. Fundraisers were held to support the search efforts. Volunteers distributed flyers with Dolana's picture, covering lampposts, store windows, and car windshields. The face of the missing girl was everywhere, a constant reminder of the tragedy. National media picked up the story. Dolana's case was featured on TV shows about missing persons. Her face appeared in newspapers across the country. People from all over sent in tips and possible sightings. But each lead turned into a dead end. The frustration grew with each passing year. Still, Detective Johnson refused to let the case go cold. The Clarks tried to maintain hope. They kept Dolana's room exactly as she had left it. Her favorite teddy bear sat on her bed, waiting for her return. Birthday cakes were baked each year, but the candles were never blown out. The family was stuck in a limbo of grief and hope. They couldn't move on, but they couldn't give up either. The search for Dolana had become their life's mission. The community's support never wavered. As the years rolled by, the pain of Dolana's disappearance didn't lessen. If anything, it grew deeper. The Clarks watched other children grow up, graduate, and start families, but their own daughter remained frozen in time. She was forever 9 years old in their minds. The what-ifs haunted them day and night. The town of Great Falls changed too. New families moved in, unaware of the tragedy that had occurred. But for the longtime residents, Dolana's disappearance was a wound that never healed. Detective Johnson, now gray-haired and nearing retirement, still kept Dolana's file on his desk. He had solved many cases over the years, but this one haunted him. He had made a promise, and he intended to keep it. Even as new technologies emerged, the case remained unsolved. DNA tests, age progression photos, and national databases yielded no results. The Clark family tried to find ways to cope. They started a foundation in Dolana's name to help other families of missing children. It gave them a sense of purpose, a way to channel their grief into something positive. But the hole in their hearts remained. Every Christmas, every birthday was a painful reminder of their loss. They lived in a state of suspended animation, unable to truly move forward without knowing what had happened to their little girl. The community shared in their anguish. It was an ordinary day in 2018, 30 years after Dolana's disappearance. Sarah Thompson, a waitress in Oregon, was serving customers. A woman sat down, ordered coffee, and started chatting. Sarah noticed something odd. The woman seemed nervous. She mentioned she was from Montana. Sarah's ears perked up. Dolana Clark's story had stuck with her. On a hunch, Sarah asked about the case. The woman's reaction was shocking. She burst into tears and confessed. Sarah's hands shook as she called the police. The police arrived quickly and took the woman into custody. Her story was incredible but true. The case that had consumed Detective Johnson's career might finally be solved. The truth about Dolana's disappearance was finally coming to light. The woman's confession painted a tragic picture. Dolana had been abducted by a couple passing through Great Falls. In a moment of desperation and madness, they took Dolana. The truth was hard to bear. Dolana, now a grown woman, had been living just a few states away all this time. The couple who took her had passed away years ago, taking their secret to the grave. The reunion was emotional and surreal. Back in Great Falls, the Clarks received the news with a mix of joy and heartbreak. They would finally get to see their daughter again. The news of Dolana's discovery spread through Great Falls like wildfire. The community was in shock. There was relief, anger, and uncertainty. The town hall was packed. Emotions ran high as residents shared memories. For the Clark family, the journey was just beginning. Reuniting with Dolana was both joyous and challenging. Detective Johnson found closure in solving his most haunting case. The town began to heal with a renewed sense of unity, a chance to move forward, to heal, and to remember hope.